answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Hello everyone. Welcome to The Outsiders. I'm your host, Sean Sims, and of course, I'm joined by my superstar co-host, Marvin Doc Cheatham. Marvin, Doc, how things going? I'm calling you Marvin. Doc, how things going?
Well, woke up today, so it's a great day in the neighborhood for me.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And it's Christmas. Christmas coming up.
Christmas, Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah.
I'm excited. I'm pumped. Oh, I'm giving some great gifts, and I'm getting some great gifts. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
My wife is going to treat me really well, and my mother's going to treat me really well. I got some really good gifts coming up. And for those people who are out there who love Christmas, and remember one thing, you can't have Christmas without Christ. You can't spell it. You can't. Try it. You can use a K. That's not going to work. It's going to look pretty ridiculous. But, Doc, we're going to have special guests Mary Hughes and Linda Batts. Linda Batts, president of Hanlon Neighborhood Association, and Mary Hughes, vice president of Friends of Gwynns Falls Parkway, to do her second part. I hope I can get her. I let her know we're going to be taping. So, Mary, I'm going to call in just a little bit, but before we do, Ravens, Jags, wow. Ravens and the Jags, how do you think the Ravens are going to do? They look good last game. They look pretty good. The defense was 31 points. I mean, that was a barn burner against the Rams. But how do you think they're going to fare against the Jaguars?
I think unless, barring injuries or some major foul-ups, I don't see the Ravens losing. I think physically we had the people back playing for the most part. Of course, we lost one of the greatest tight ends. I don't know whether or not he will even come back during this season, but I think with the caliber of people we had, if we use them appropriately, I believe we can go all the way. I think right now we odds-on favorite to get the first seed, which I think is very important. I think I mentioned that last week. I think top seed is very important, that you get a bye and you play the weaker teams of the playoff teams. So I think barring any major injuries, I guess the Super Bowl is for us to lose. I don't want to sound too optimistic, but I think barring injuries and major foul-ups, we should be able to go all the way.
Well, with all these other quarterbacks just dropping like flies, I agree. If Lamar stays healthy, last few years wasn't very rewarding in the health department. He got knocked out partly during the middle of the season, towards the end of the season. But if he can stay healthy, I think they can do that. And what I'm going to do now, I was going to get in a little bit more on this Wizards and Caps moving from Northern Virginia, but I just saw Mary Hughes, and it looks like I'm just going to go ahead and get her on. Hold on just a second. We're calling Mary Hughes. Hello. Mary, how you doing? You're on the Outsiders. Oh, that's okay. Well, you're on the Outsiders, and I got superstar Doc Cheatham on with me.
Oh, hey, Doc, how are you?
I'm doing great. Woke up this morning. Happy holiday and season greetings to you and all of yours.
Oh, bless you, right back at you.
Well,
and I know Linda's waiting for a call, too.
I'm going to get her in a few minutes, but just want to set it up to let everyone know I did do the first part of the interview with Mary Hughes, Vice President of Friends of Gwynns Falls Parkway, and this is in regards to the disgraceful, shameful behavior of James Torrence. And just could you just give us just a minute just to intro this, Mary, of what happened with James, and I'm going to bring Linda on.
Oh, all started, Doc and Sean, when I requested that our dear councilman would put into writing, as he has stated at several venues, that there would be no bike lanes on Glens Falls Parkway. I asked him for that after a City Hall meeting, after our first protest at City Hall on a Monday evening. He said, okay, I will get that to you. Still did not hear from him. I sent him an email. He didn't respond. He didn't respond. At the complete hearing council that Nick Mosby held for the community, I asked him again for that, and he did not respond, but he did say that he would be working on some things that I had requested. I sent a total of 5 emails to him asking for that in writing. I wanted the community to know that there would be no bike lanes on Glens Falls Parkway. From our council person, and at the hearing for Clinton Streets, the director, Corinne Johnson, said it, that we have no plans to put bike lanes on Glens Falls Parkway. And even after that, he refused to give me something in writing. So what I had to do was use an email, Sean, that he sent you, where you were summarizing what he had said at a meeting, and he was correcting you. But in his correction, in your email, he stated, you are incorrect. I did say that there would be no bike lanes on Glens Falls Parkway, but that I did not say there would be no buffer lanes. So I had to use your communication to put out to the community. When I put it out there, several other community members sent me emails saying, I don't know why you thought that you would get the truth from such a liar as Councilman Torrence. This was repeated about 4 or 5 times from responses that I got. And my response to them was merely, hey, he may be a liar, but he's going to have to tell the truth about that. I hit the send button. Less than, I guess, a minute, he calls me. And he says, well, I want you to apologize for calling me a liar. I said, I cannot apologize because you didn't come forth with the letter, but I will do this. He says, I will give you that letter. I said, once you give me the letter, I will make a public apology of calling you a liar.
Okay.
And then when I didn't get anything, again, I called Sheena, his assistant. She calls me back and she says, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, Mrs. Hughes. And she said, he wants a public apology before he gives you the letter. And I said, that's not going to happen.
You knew that's not
If he's man enough, tell him to call me. And he called me, and he threatened me. And that's where we are.
Well, this is what I'm going to do, because this dastardly deed, and this is what you call it. I believe he has, and I'm going to try to pronounce this. I looked this up a few days ago. Gerontophobia. Gerontophobia. Gerontophobia is a dislike or hatred of the elderly. And I believe that's what James Torrence has. But I'm going to, and Linda, she knows these big words. Let me go ahead and give her, hold on, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get her to join us. So just hold on just a tick. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Linda Batts and have her join the call. So let me go ahead and get her. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, I'm calling Linda Batts, Hanlon Association. She's the president. There we go. Hello, Linda.
Yes.
I've got Doc on the line. I've got Mary on the line. We're on The Outsiders.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon and season greetings.
Season greetings, yes.
Absolutely. To all of you all.
Thank you. Mary was just telling us about her contact with the disgraceful James Torrence. As a matter of fact, before we continue this, I want to let everyone know who James Torrence is. Now, my YouTube viewers, you're going to be able to see this. My iHeart Radio folks and my Spotify, Amazon Music folks, you can go to the YouTube channel. But here's James Torrence. Now, I'm holding this out so everybody can see him. Now, that's James Torrence, Pigpen. Dirtiest dirtiest district in the dirtiest city in America. And I'm going to go over that a little bit later after this. But there he is. That's James Torrence. There he is right there. That's James Torrence. That's James Torrence. Linda, could you tell me your experience you've had with this knucklehead, James Torrence?
Well, permit me to say I am a lifelong resident, second generation of the 7th District. My parents were among the first blacks to move on Gwynns Falls Parkway during the period of blockbusting. And we've been proud residents, and I've chosen to stay here out of my own decision and love for the community, not because I have no other options. But notwithstanding that, Councilman Torrence is the elected official for our district. And the most recent incident involving Mary Hughes rings out for me a sense of deja vu. And permit me to establish this very important and compelling context for you.
Okay.
On about August the 2nd, 2021, the Hanlon community requested a meeting with the former major of the Northwest Police District, Major Felicia Brown. She ignored the former president's request to meet to address crime and the uptick in the Hanlon community. Armed carjackings, thefts, catalytic converters, home invasions, etc. After several requests to have her voluntarily meet with the community, the former president sent a note to former Commissioner Harrison indicating that his Northwest PD commander, Tamisha Brown, was refusing to meet with the Hanlon community. Major Harrison intervened. She established a meeting. That meeting was held with the community on August the 2nd, 2021. Councilman James Torrence was in attendance during that meeting, following her dog and pony show about constitutional policing. One of our senior residents, mid-70s, said, listen, we've got a lot of suspected drug activity here. I don't feel safe in the community anymore. I'm afraid to go to my car. It's parked in front of the house. I can't sit on the porch and enjoy my front porch like I used to. They're shooting crap. They're smoking dope. They're probably selling dope. I'm afraid. What should I do? What can you do? Major Brown responds, go down and knock on their car window and ask them to move.
She said that?
She said that publicly in a meeting, August 2nd, 2021. Councilman Torrence was in attendance. After a very pregnant pause, I intervened and interjected.
Good, yes.
As vice president of the association, and I said, excuse me, Major Brown, we're not going to put our residents in harm's way by having them engage suspected criminals.
Wow.
That, she retorted, I'm sick of you. I'm taking off my gloves with you right now. All bets are off.
Wow.
I said, oh my. You're being extremely unprofessional in front of our community and in front of your team.
Wow, my goodness.
Torrence sits there.
Oh, man.
In the meeting, says nothing. He condones
of course
the behavior through his conspicuous
silence. That's condoning it. Yes.
Not once did he interject and say, don't you talk to my constituent like that. Not once did he interject and say, how dare you have a senior be given guidance to go and approach a suspected criminal regarding law enforcement business and activities.
Sounds like he was okay with that.
Not one.
Yeah.
So by being silent, by not interjecting, by not sanctioning or otherwise chiding the major for her misconduct, condoned it. And that has been a pattern that a number of us in the 7th District have witnessed with respect to senior females, with respect to civil rights leaders in the 7th District, with respect to persons who are outspoken and share different opinions that depart from that of the councilman.
That is a
The
disgrace.
most recent episode with Mary Hughes, as I indicated, this is deja vu. The very same language that the major used with me on August the 2nd, which ultimately resulted in a finding of misconduct, not only by the Police Integrity Unit of BPD, but also by the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. That very same language that was sanctioned by them is the same reported language that Mary Hughes has stated he declared in a discussion with her. And so there is context for this. And I am just absolutely troubled by this. Clearly, there have been other episodes and incidents where not only Doc Cheatham, who is on the line, but you also, Sean Sims, were in the room at his town hall meeting up at the Community College of Baltimore.
Yes, I was there.
Where he became aggressive and combative and divisive in an exchange with me. I asked him to tone down and refrain from threatening me. He made misrepresentations to the community to chill them into trying to buy into this one lane on Gwynns Falls Parkway, telling them that if we don't get it done now, it'll be 5 or 6 years if you want to wait for a capital improvement to do the kind of adjustment that we believe was appropriate to maintain 2 lanes. All of that sends a very chilling effect upon the community, and it signals that our women, our seniors, our leading civil rights spokespersons are insignificant and trifling in the scheme of things and not respected and revered by the people whom we've entrusted to do our bidding for us. In every exchange we have had with the councilman, he acts as if he is employed not only by the Department of Public Works, but by the Department of Transportation. And you have reached out to him, Doc has reached out to him to advocate not only with respect to issues regarding hexavalent chromium in Hanlon Park and the transfer of potentially tainted soil to the Rosemount community, but many other like and related issues. And not once has he said to the departments that I want you to address the issues that are important to my constituents and to meet with them and to take decisive action and give me a roadmap and a plan in terms of how you're going to address these issues. In a very similar situation that Mary Hughes just weighed in on regarding Liberty Square, one of the outspoken residents was told to get reconnaissance information on suspected criminals that amounted to her having to conduct a surveillance. Dates, times, what they're wearing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's crazy.
Others cautioned her that she should not be engaged in that kind of detailed surveillance because just as she might be watching them, folks are watching her, and that could compromise her safety. The advice and guidance that has been given to many of the constituents who have been attempted to be disfavored in our community, to be blackballed in our community, to be isolated and set aside in our community on quarantine because we don't agree with the approaches that have been taken. It's outrageous and it needs to stop. And the community needs to rally around the 7th District for the kind of leadership and the kind of reform that will keep us out of the news for negative press and put us in the news for coming together as a community that is filled with solutions, that is filled with creative ideas, that wants to make this district among the best in the city. And at one point it was. But now we are seeing a victimization of leaders and outspoken personnel in our communities that happens to be unprecedented. And I just think that something has to be done. What do you all think about that?
Well, this is what I want to do. I want to ask Doc what he thinks, and then I want to get to Mary and get her opinion, even though we did have that first part of the interview. But this is the second part with Mary Hughes, and we're speaking on Outsiders with Mary Hughes and Linda Batts. But Doc, what do you think of what Linda and Mary said?
Well, I think, sadly enough, I hate to use an old cliche, but I think the chickens have come home to roost. And when I say the chickens have come home to roost, the attitudes and conduct of not only James Torrence, but also our Senator, Antonio Hayes. We have elected officials now who will say and do whatever they want. They will publicly lie. They will go back on words that they have given to folks. But because they have so much power, folks like in my neighborhood have no chance because we don't vote and we don't have a strong enough voice. And I hope that folks are hearing this to know that if now we can see middle-class neighborhoods like the ones that Mary and Linda are in, if they can catch hell from our elected officials, what they think is happening to us that are here in the ghetto where we don't vote. So it's sad that this is happening, but it's only a matter of time that it has come to fruition. You know, we had a lie as soon as the councilman came into office. He purported that he knew what a food desert was, and he was arguing with me that a food desert was a mile away. And I said, no, in Baltimore City, it's a quarter of a mile. He was supposed to come on a Afro-American newspaper radio show, but then once he realized that he had false information, he refused to come and debate me on the issue. It's the same situation as Antonio Hayes, lying to the public that we did not approve of a skateboard park. We have a 40th legislative senator. We have a 7th councilman, and these are guys that are lying on a regular basis, but they have basically gotten away from it because they've been doing it to poor neighborhoods. Now guess what is happening? Chickens have come home to roost because they're now affecting middle-class neighborhoods, and they, of course, got the voice to say something about it. I'm only saying the chickens have finally come home to roost. We have uncovered 2 lying elected officials that basically have done their communities a tremendous disservice.
Well, Doc,
no resident should be subject to retribution and retaliation for demanding that they get the best service from the city in their district and in their community.
That's
Every citizen should be encouraged to speak freely and with integrity about the issues that matter to them. But the way things have operated now, when you speak freely and when you speak honestly, you're subject to retaliation, and that ultimately has what is known in the business as a chilling effect. When other people see what is happening to you and how you're being treated, they're going to want to shy away from being vocal, from being involved, because they don't want to be subject to that same kind of reprehensible behavior and conduct as well. And we must all band together to insist that this nonsense and mayhem stop, and that we have elected officials whom have been entrusted to represent our interests be held accountable for discharging those interests and not pandering around with city officials and city leaders who are failing miserably at their jobs.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Mary, what do you think?
Oh, I cannot disagree with anything that's been said by Don, by Linda, or yourself. I think we are in a different time, and I hate to go down memory lane, but I must. There was a time when a community showed up, whether it be at the zoning board, whether it be at City Hall, whether it be at a community meeting packed, that they listened, respected, and even feared the community. Those days seem to be gone with the elected officials that we have now. And I think the reason for that is because they feel that what they have is what they need, whether it be developers, whether it be special interest groups, whether it be the mayor himself or department heads. It's who they feel they're accountable to. They have lost sense of the fact that they're elected officials to serve their constituency. They have truly gone beyond common sense and what they were put there for. Even if people did not vote for them, they're responsible for serving them. I remember when Don Rhetoric was interviewing Mayor Scott. And as we know, Scott only got about 22% of the vote. Don put a question to him. He said, look, you didn't get a lot of votes. A lot of people did not vote for you. He said, no, they did not. But I'm here to serve even those that did not vote for me. He had the right words, but apparently he is not acting on those words. And we know, Doc in particular, Linda in particular, and you, Sean, that we need new leadership. Not only in the South, but throughout the city.
I agree.
Because they are not leading. And I think the whole philosophy is this, and I've said this to Linda many times. People are sheep. They need a shepherd. It's not that they do not want to do something. They have no direction. And I am thankful for each of you on this call, this line, and even people listening who get a little frustrated, always speaking up, always standing up, always sticking their neck out for that which is right, because people need a leader to do that. And we have found that once you stand up, even if you get opposition against the enemy, and I'm telling you folks, when you stand up for what's right, you're going to have opposition. That's biblical.
Oh, yes, you
when
will.
You stand up for what's right, the enemy's going to come against you.
Yes, he will.
My word says that the Lord will make your enemy your footstools. So if you stand up and people believe that you're standing for the right thing, you're speaking on behalf of the right thing, they will support you. And I have found that to be the truth with the bike lanes, with checkers, with the one lane going down West Falls East westbound. I've seen that. People may be reluctant to speak up, but I think and I know from experience they will follow people that they believe and trust in. Now, here's the other side of the coin. Let Torrence, let Antonio, let the mayor continue what they're doing. The mayor is on a sinking ship. Let Torrence stay on that ship. Let Antonio stay on that ship. That ship's going down. So I want them to stick close to the mayor because we know it's over. So if they want to stick with him, so be it. And the truth does come out. Antonio, the way in which he treated Doc, dealing with that skate park that we wanted at Easterwood was horrible. He didn't even want to shake Doc's hand. Doc had the documentation. He had the signatures. He didn't want to be bothered with them. And that is unacceptable. Here are two black men. One elected to serve you, the other one an activist for the people. They should be joining hands together and say, let's do something. Even if you may disagree with it, let's at least talk about this thing. And that's pure arrogance. I have been told by several individuals that Torrence and Antonio have told them, look, if you hang with that group, you're hurting yourself. And that group is the people on this line and others. you're hurting yourself.
Oh, really? Is that what he said?
Yeah, he said, hey, if you hang with that group, those group of people who are making a lot of noise.
Oh, really?
Those wonderful people, that you're going to hurt yourself.
Who said that?
Torrence has said to others that, hey, to me, he said it on the line.
Oh, really?
He said, a lot of you people are disgruntled, and it's just a few of you.
I'm going to give him a call. I think I'm going to give him a call. That he can say that to me. He can say it to my face.
This is what he's saying. And those people he's talking about are people who's talking against him or are standing for something that he doesn't want to stand with. And I'll say this, I'll give him credit. When we were going after Checkers, Torrence did some good research on the traffic and whatever, and our lawyer used his letter in defending us as not to have that drive-through. I gave him credit. I said, I appreciate you coming forth with that. But all other things, he has not supported us. And the only reason I feel he supported us there, my friends, is because his supporters that he is adhering to, his people who have his ears, was not against it. If they were against us,
then he would have been against you.
Supported us.
Of course.
It's a simple fact.
Of course he would.
Let me say something about all four of us on the line. And I can speak for myself. I've had an extremely marvelous and successful federal career. I am successfully retired, and I am a participating, active citizen in my community and in my city. I'm invested in the welfare of my community in my city. I'm not looking for public office. I'm not looking for private philanthropy. I'm here because I want to see the right thing done by my community and my city. I'm not trying to build a career. I have a name. I'm not trying to enhance it. It has been set. So I want folks to understand that any smear campaign to tarnish the efforts that advocates such as myself and others on this line are trying to implement are efforts that will otherwise be unsuccessful, because we are people whose records we stand on. We have had many accomplishments that have preceded this conversation that serve as testimonials of who we are and what we are about. Not trying to build a name, already have a brand. Linda Batts is known for her courage, her wisdom, her decisiveness, her fearlessness, and her willingness to take on adversaries who may seem bigger than her, but can fall harder than she. So, I'm here to continue to do the good work, to be supportive of folks like Doc, Sean, Mary, Lawrence Bell, Kelly Bigelow, and many others, and we'll continue to do what I believe and champion what I believe is right. And any efforts to divide and conquer by those who are otherwise concerned about our collaborations, keep at it, because all you're doing is setting the ground for further exposure, and folks are beginning to see now the things that we've been telling them all along.
You've been saying it all along, and this is what I want to do. It's going to be a few minutes. I want to play this. I want you all to hear this and give me. And I want your comments on this clip I'm getting ready to play. And this does have to do with James Torrence and the city.
Exactly, and researchers have been comparing the number of trash complaints filed in this city with cities in any other part of the country. And what they've discovered has earned Baltimore a new title of the dirtiest city in America. For those who live in Park Heights,
we have alleys like this all through the neighborhood.
They forever waged war with those who dump in Park Heights.
You have a lot of people in the neighborhoods who will ride right down the street and throw a chicken box out the window. They don't care if somebody picks it up or not, because most of the people that trash the neighborhood, most of them don't live it.
Random people can come through and just dump their trash and keep going.
At the abandoned home beside Tasha Gray's place, there's a fresh dump of trash most every week.
It's a rat problem. It creates rats.
The trash problem has grown so great that the online publication House Fresh has dubbed Baltimore the dirtiest city in the country. The title comes after researchers analyzed millions of 311 complaints that come into cities each year and discovered that Baltimore had thousands more sanitation complaints last year than any other city in the country. Sacramento was a distant second.
I believe you. Can't argue with that.
It's disheartening. Because we know, a lot of us know how hard we work in community, but get lack of support. And you see car parts and construction pieces and wood and wall and sheetrock and dirt and trash and household goods. It's hard.
Will Hanna, who leads a community development organization, says the problem doesn't center around a shortage of funds, but where those funds are distributed.
This is DPW. But if they don't have the funds and the resources to clean up stuff like this, then what are we doing as a city?
For now, the city has a dirty new distinction, one that could take a while to clean up.
I hope that this helps some people outside of government to say, hey, let's go and do some community cleanup. Let's go and clean our block, but let's not be number one on this list.
Researchers have also broken down their findings by zip code and found that the top 6 dirty zip codes are right here in Baltimore. The #1 dirtiest zip code in the country was...
There you go. I want to say this before I get to you all. Baltimore listed as the dirtiest city in America. Mary and I spoke about that on our first interview, first part of the second part interview, which is today. We spoke about that. And here we go, because I'm going to name numbers. Doc likes to name names, but I like to name numbers. 21213, 89,391 complaint calls. Okay, 21223, 78,636 complaint calls. 21216, 69,968 complaint calls. 21217, 62,440 complaint calls. 21205, 55,642 complaint calls. 21218, 51,425 complaint calls. And rounding them out, 47,954 complaint calls in 21224. I did the math. I took James Torrance's district. Sorry, people. It's not you. It's James Torrance. Yeah, you have bad people who are littering, but James Torrance isn't the councilman who's answering those calls and doing something about it and going to Slim Shady and saying, hey, look, Shady. Hey, Slim Shady. I'm getting 138,000 calls between my district. He's the dirtiest councilman. He's got the dirtiest district pigpen in the country.
To the service request
I'm making, yes, that's what it was done.
You call it a complaint calls, but I think legally they called service request calls.
Well, this is what they're calling it in the survey that was done. That was Jeff Abel, his report. I like Jeff. He's a good friend of Doc's as well. And this was his baby. But it does list it as complaints. But I see what you're saying, Doc. But this is what this councilman has not done, among other things. And that is to make sure that he goes to the mayor, because the mayor is getting sued as we speak because he's not following the charter and making sure the trash and refuse, recycle, all of it is cleaned up per the charter. So he's getting sued. I believe discovery is coming up soon, and that's going to get really interesting as well. So that's what I wanted to bring up with James Torrance as well. You know what? Who's going to run against this ass clown? Who's going to run against him and kick his butt out of that seat?
Linda, may I interject here? There is, we're talking to several people, and one particular person is very, very close to making an announcement. So I don't want to say anything until that person makes it official.
I understand.
But we are working on that. And the fact that if whoever else wants to run, but this person is, without a doubt, so full of talent, so full of compassion for Baltimore City.
Oh, the person who may be running.
And I think that's something that, and Doc and Linda and I have spoken at one of the meetings that he had, that we would attempt to do the following as well. Not to support from one we feel would be great city council person, but to do a campaign just telling the truth. And folks, this is not a mudslinging thing. When you tell the truth, it's not mudslinging. When you put it into writing or verbalize all the things that are not being done and not even being addressed by the persons who's representing you, this is damaging to that individual. So all we have to do is tell the truth about Torrance. That's all. You don't have to make up lies. You don't have to make up insinuations.
No, that's no need
just
to do
the
that.
truth.
Just tell the
Just
truth.
the truth. That's right. Like
exactly.
they would say on one of those old shows, just give me the facts, and we can give them the facts.
I believe that was Dragnet. Dragnet.
That was just the facts, man.
Just the facts, man. Uh-huh.
Just the fact. That's all we have to do. And when we do that, and again, I say the sheep need to know what's going on. And if they don't know, they will be ignorant and pull the lever for a name they are familiar with, but not familiar with what that name stands for. So that's something that we have to be responsible enough to do, as well as find a viable candidate, which we think we have.
Well, that's
but also
good.
bring out the flaws, the dishonesty, the disrespect for the constituency of this individual who was elected to serve.
Let me ask you.
They don't know what servanthood is.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, James Torrance, he needs to go. He's got so many defects, and he said in that meeting at BCCC that I was at the meeting several times. He said, "I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer." Hey, James, I said it last week. I'll say it again. I've had lawyers for breakfast. I've chewed lawyers up and spit them out. So you being a lawyer doesn't mean anything to me or any of the rest of us. Nothing. You've shown that you're inept. You've shown that you don't care. You've shown that you're in a pocket of the DPW, DOT, and everybody else, and Baltimore. What is with this? Who's giving? Baltimore is giving this to his campaign? I'm finding this out.
Yeah.
Okay, so they give to his campaign, and he doesn't give, Mary, he doesn't give you the letter or anything in writing stating that there won't be any bike lanes, even though he said he would. But and he did put it in an email to me that there will be no bike lanes. I have the email, but when you ask for it, he wouldn't give it to you, and then he threatened you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he's a lawyer, right? Okay,
And he's
so
a lawyer.
Would not verbalize something that he would not be willing to own. When we were at the Zoom meeting with Nick Mosby, when we came together, he was in on that meeting. He stated it there. It was recorded. It was recorded. And then it was recorded or put into writing at the Hanlon meeting when we first heard it.
And
So, I mean, all of this is there. So you're a lawyer,
It is.
and as a lawyer,
He's a lawyer.
threaten someone?
He's a really, you're not that good of a lawyer, James.
Well, and the other thing is that I just think anyone listening to this would be outraged. And, you know, the phones should be ringing off the chain at City Hall, or the email and internet should be jammed up, just demanding that appropriate and decisive action be taken to address the credible threat against an upstanding member of our community, a woman, to allow the disrespect for a woman, to allow a senior to be disrespected, to allow a leading civil rights advocate to be disrespected, singularly or collectively. Any one of those parameters is the basis for outrage. And citizens of Baltimore, you should be infuriated that one of our own has been treated in this manner. I feel victimized by this. I too have been victimized as a result of this. And we should just not tolerate it.
No, it should not be tolerated at all. And what's going on with this guy and what's going on with Doc, and I want to get to this because Doc has made a point, a valid point, and I'm going to make a point, and I'm going to stick to this point as well. My point is that the assaults, first of all, the crime rate, at my estimate, from the numbers I've ran off of that board, Monsi board, it has a crime, total crime overall up about approximately 13%. So it's a bald-faced lie when they say crime is down. That's a lie. And as far as what's going on with the total assaults in the city is well over 13,000. Let me say this, 13,000 assaults all over the city so far this year. And Doc made a valid point, 18% in the Western District, the homicide rate has gone up. And Slim Shady, let me get this out because this is very important. Everyone seems to be ignoring it, and it is the crux of what this clown said before he got in. And he said, I will have homicide down 15% each year. Each year, Tory Smith of WBAL, who didn't know the numbers and is off there spouting and running his mouth off about Brandon, and Brandon's doing a good job. No, Tory, I went on the show and I told you, no, he promised 15% decrease in homicide each year of his term. And Tory Smith, I'm calling you out, son. Tory Smith, who's a tech guy, because he's a tech guy. I was a sales guy and I was a marketing guy, and they would have fired him. They would have fired Brandon Scott because his numbers were off. He's 206 is what he promised for 2023. No more than 206 precious lives, homicides taken. No more. And he's what, 270 or something now? He's way off the mark of what he promised. He's down 20. I think he's off 20% at least. So this talk, Doc, and you can speak of this in your district, this talk of everything is rosy and sunshine and Brandon, he got the numbers in and all this is a bunch of crap and it's a lie. Doc, what do you have to say about your district?
Well, I would say this, one, that, and I think Mary and Linda have said it quite well, you know, this has forced different types of communities to come together because of the injustices that are and have been taking place. You know, when I look at transportation, I look at the fact that in the affluent area of Ashburton, they're having challenges when it comes to the bike lanes. Well, we have one that's probably even bigger than that. We have a thing called commuter bus routes that only go through white neighborhoods. You know, we're saying we got a transportation problem here in our area as well, but we don't have the money that other communities have, that we have the automobiles and cars, we have to deal with buses. So we're saying a transportation issue from our end, but the buses are only going through white neighborhoods. We talk about the I guess the soil that they have at Hanlon Park. Well, we had the water contamination that we had all through the Western District. So what I'm telling folks is I can label anything that is happening in the poor neighborhood is now also happening in the affluent neighborhood, and it's forcing us. I'm happy that it's forcing us to come together once and for all, because we all are fighting the same people that are doing us an injustice. And I wish y'all luck with the Equity Commission, because I think they are a joke as well. I think these are appointed people that are supposed to look at equity. Well, how can you deal with equity when 1/3 of your citizens live in a food desert, but because it doesn't affect affluent neighborhoods, they don't give a damn about we living in food desert. But 1/3 of the citizens in Baltimore live in the food desert. What is equitable about that?
And what's equitable about your district? Again, I'm going to point out, and I digress. What's equitable about your district, the Western District, having an 18% increase in homicide?
Oh, it's going up even further now.
Now it's even higher?
It's at 28% now.
Wow.
32 homicides to 41 homicides. No one in the city is talking about it.
No, they're not.
It's not on television. It's not on radio. We're the only district in the city of Baltimore where homicides have gone up. But every newspaper, TV station that you hear, oh, we're celebrating. The homicides have gone down. I'd be damned. The homicides have gone up in the Western District. But do the other districts care that the Western District is gone back up in homicides. We're at 41. I haven't looked at today's report, but we're at 41. We've had a significant increase in homicide. But everybody's cheering, oh, homicides are down. I'd be damned if they're down, they up.
And that they're up, crime's up, and I don't believe those numbers. I'm just going to come straight up. I don't believe that. And this Brandon's trying to do is rebrand himself. No, you're Slim Shady, your BG&E backdoor deal, stabbing the citizens of Baltimore and the surrounding areas who have BG&E in the back. That's what you are. And everyone, before you go to vote, look at that BG&E bill, how it's going up. And you can blame Brandon Scott, Slim Shady. You can blame Brandon Scott, Slim Shady, fake phony, for your bill going up. Look at him. He's the reason why more money is coming out of your pocket. That's what's going on with that. And I gotta say this. I have to say this. I'm going to go back to Pigpen. James Torrence, Councilman James Torrence, Pigpen. I know there's a call for his resignation, but there needs to be a louder call for the resignation of James Torrence and Nick Mosby. You're the president of the city council. I don't know how much longer. Looks like Zeke is. It looks like Zeke's doing really good. Maybe you need to show some people, Nick, that you actually really care, and get up off your high horse and deal with James Torrence. Because Nick, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to make this perfectly clear. If you don't do something about James Torrence, we're calling for his resignation. He should resign, but he's not, because he's hard-headed. A hard head make a soft behind. Nick, if you don't do something about this James Torrance clown, okay, I'm going to guarantee you right now, you hear me, Nick, that you will not be the president of the Baltimore City Council. Do you hear me?
I'm going to say this. Let me say this. Nick has got to come out of his mode of doing PR. I would like to think that the hearing that we had in City Hall that he called for us for complete streets would have meant something. The more that I review this and the silence that I hear from him, because I like Nick Mosby, the more I see that that was more of a PR thing for him rather than being very serious, because when the question was raised, let's repeal it, he came back with an explanation. Well, if we repeal it, that means that we would have to redo a law, have a new law, blah, blah, this and that. Okay, so what? Let's do it. So don't make excuses why we can't. Let's figure out how we can. Because he heard testimony. He heard, and I was very proud of the testimony that came from the city council people that were there. Unlike Torrance, they recognized that their constituents were concerned about this issue. And even one of them said, why, to Johnson, why are all of your projects have to include a bike lane? She couldn't answer it. So the point is, it's got to be more, and I think myself as well as others, and I have to say certain people who are taking the ball and ran with it, have communicated with Nick and their city council person says, okay, we have the hearing. What's next? And I think, Sean, you're perfectly right. Tonight, I am going to send an email to Nick saying, listen, you've been getting copies of my emails concerning Torrance,
yes, he has,
concerning Moore, concerning Johnson. Now, what are you going to do about all this?
What are you prepared to do?
What's the next step for complete streets? And I'm going to say this to all of those who are listening, even maybe some who are running for office, even those I may want to win. If you come to me and you're not willing to talk about complete streets, if you're not willing to talk about safe streets, getting rid of it, revamping complete streets, doing away with the harm that they've done to this city, I don't want to be bothered with you. You can't skate the issue.
Exactly.
I have to give Sheila Dixon credit. She did say one of the first things she's going to do is get 28th Street back the way it was. She said it's a complete mess. And the people who are running have to come out and say, this is ridiculous. Jeff Abel, I applaud him. When he went to Harvard, like a little kid sitting on the wall looking and waiting for bikes to come.
Nothing came, no bikes came through, yes.
And And so, I mean, the whole point, that's what journalism, that's a good reporter. So that's what we need. We need people who are going to run. Yeah, I don't want Torrance to come back, but I don't want to clone Torrance.
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
I want someone who's going to do something.
But I'm gonna be honest.
That's when whenever I go to a candidate's night or talk to a potential candidate, whether it be mayor, city council, or whatever, what you going to do about these issues?
Mary,
what are you going to do about the crime rate that's gone up?
Mary,
in the 7th district.
Mary,
what are you going to do about that?
Mary, I want to.
Yes.
I want to be honest about something too. Okay, you do have people who have in the past have done some things, and they say some things that make sense. But full disclosure, when it comes to Sheila Dixon, I'm telling everyone, and I've had these conversations with you as well. Do not let that fox back into the chicken coop. Okay.
Oh, never.
Do not let. Don't get. Oh yeah, Sheila has done some things that were good, and I even said on my podcast, I even said it, and I'll stick to it. If hypothetically the race was only between two people, and that is Brandon and Sheila, I would pick Sheila over Brandon because Brandon's got a lot of dirt that's going to be coming out too. But this is not the case, people. There are other candidates. There are other candidates, and Sheila should not be let anywhere near back into that office because of what she's done and things that people don't even know about. And let me say that again. Things that you don't know about, people. I know. That you don't know about yet. About Sheila. Oh yeah. See, there's more. There's more to the story. Like what is his name? Paul Harvey? The rest of the story, Doc? He likes to quote Paul Harvey. There's more to this story. So these two chuckleheads from the cesspool, the Baltimore City Council is a cesspool, is the land of the walking dead. And you got people coming from that cesspool. Sheila's from that cesspool. Brandon's from that cesspool. Let's get somebody in the mayor's office who's not from the cesspool.
Sean, I would agree with you, but I'm going to make this point.
Okay.
It would be a sad commentation on the people who are running not to bring out the truth. She, as well as Scott, will not be able to get in. If people who are running, and I said it again, it doesn't have to be mudslinging, just tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
When those facts and you tell them the truth comes up, that's my thing. I'm going with the fact, okay, she said that. And I would have to hold her to it if by some ridiculous measure she got in. But the point is, if there are people who are running, if they are fearful, they don't have enough backbone to bring out the truth, then they shouldn't be in there either. We need people who are strong, who will tell the truth, who will stand and say, I know what you are, I know what you feel, Baltimore, you deserve better, and you should get better. So the point is, it's up to those people who are running, and it is up to us who have a voice to make sure that the truth comes out about these people.
And
that's my thing. And
this is what I want to do. This is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. And I just want to cover this for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's all. And that is the Afro newspaper did an article. The article wasn't on Slim Shady. The article wasn't on Shady Sheila. They did an article on Bob Wallace. And with that article, what's her name? Tashi McQueen? That's her. Yeah. Tashi McQueen, it looks like she reached out to two other candidates. It wasn't Sheila, and it wasn't Brandon. And she reached out to, Yolanda Pulley and Wendell Freeman. And I'm going to go over this because I want to get your opinion on these candidates. What I call the real candidate. I don't think Brandon's a real candidate. I think anybody from the cesspool, as far as I'm concerned, is a fake, phony, backstabber, liar, whatever. But here's what it says, and I'm going to go over this briefly. Okay. Mayoral candidate Bob Wallace discussed his public safety plans for Baltimore at his campaign headquarters. This was November the 30th. And he did. I went over, I saw the video. He says nothing is more important than public safety. That's why we felt it was a good idea to get out to the public our framework that we would use to provide public safety in Baltimore. And she goes on and gives, you know, what Bob says about his program and public safety, and he's talking about villages, setting up villages and having every village will have what we're calling the mayor's station or mini city hall. And he has a plan and a public safety plan, but here's the kicker. Now this is what got me. This is what stood out. Not just Bob's plan. I think Bob has a good, interesting plan. I really do. But Yolanda Pulley and a mayoral candidate commented on Wallace's plan. And you all have to hear this because I was blown away. Quote, technically, I don't see a plan. I don't see a vision. I just see a bunch of talking points. Everybody's going to say something about public safety because they know that these are points that people want to hear. But when it comes down to a vision and a plan, does anybody actually have one? Actually, I did watch the video. I mean, he didn't go into so much detail, but he was giving an idea and a plan. I'm just being truthful. I'm being straightforward. So that I don't technically really agree with. But here's the part that I thought was interesting, and she's talking about people in the homeless and so on. But this is from Yolanda Pulley, and I'm quoting, quote, if I saw someone who had a vision and passion for people in this community, I would drop my campaign. And she continues, and she'll back them. Because I don't believe in vote splitting or choosing politics over people. Bottom line is, Yolanda Pulley said in the Afro that I would drop my campaign if I saw someone who had a vision. So does that mean she doesn't have a vision? And she doesn't have passion? Because she filed to run for mayor of Baltimore City. Why would you say, after filing to run for mayor of Baltimore City, and having people backing you, and having, I guess, putting people who are going to back you, or staff, I don't know, why would you put in any paper that you will drop out of the race? And I'm going to go on, and I'm going to read, because I got to be fair, Wendell Freeman, mayoral candidate, his quote, this is his quote, Wallace's public safety village concept is interesting, although his strategy does bring a back to basics approach, which is needed. I believe my upcoming strategy for public safety, health, and crime will have systems with more of a focus on input from the best minds in Baltimore. Together we can collaborate to efficiently, effectively, and strategically bring about profound reductions in homicide, assaults, shootings, robberies, car thefts, and crime throughout the city. Okay, he's not bashing Bob. He's just saying it's an interesting concept. He likes the concept, but he has one that's going to be a little bit more focused on bringing people together, minds together. What do you all think about that article from the Afro I just went over? Yolanda Pulley, Freeman, Bob Wallace. What do you think of that? I'm just curious.
I'll start and I'll say this. I'm unimpressed with the article. I'm going to call it like I see it. Mm-hmm. One, when I look at the individuals that are running, I first ask, what experience do they have? Are they like most of the generation we have today? They're very good at talking, but at the end of the day, can't deliver anything. And in listening, and I haven't written my Afro. I get the Afro both materially and through internet, but I have to read it now. But what I'm hearing so far, I'm very unimpressed with the Afro article that covered it. I'm very, very unimpressed with it.
Which part is unimpressive?
I don't think they're talking about what someone is saying. I don't want to know what one is saying. I want to know what one has done and what they would do as a result of it. It's like when I look at the Western District, I tell folks, if you don't live in the Western District, you may not have an idea at all what the heck is going on in the Western District. If you live in Northwest, you might know a little bit about it. If you live in the Southwest, you might know a little about it. But if you don't know what it feels like to have 50 liquor stores in your area, to have at least 50 open-air drug markets, other communities have no idea what it is. You know, when you said you got a soil problem in Hanlon Park, but then you have a water problem, which is something that you have to have every day. You don't know the difference between a dirt problem and the fact that you can't even drink the water coming out your faucet. And I'm telling folks, you know, you may think you might know what's going on in the Western District, but 9 chances out of 10, you haven't a clue. You're worried about bikes. I'm worried about people even getting to work every day.
Okay,
they don't have the transportation to provide it. So, you know, folks sit there telling you what they're going to do, what they're going to say. I'm saying most of these folks that are running can't even get 5% of the vote for people that are running. Look at their records with the few of them that have run, what they have done. They've done nothing. All they do is talk a good game, but they don't deliver. And I'm saying we got to stop electing people who talk a good game, but at the end of the day, they don't deliver us anything.
Like Brandon Scott? Like Brandon. I mean, talk about a game. Mary, what did you think of the article?
Number one, whoever was conducting the article didn't ask the hard questions. As Yolanda said that. Okay. I would have said, okay, so you're saying someone who has a plan. What's your plan?
Exactly.
You're indicating that if you admire someone who had a plan, you drop out. But if you have a plan, would you like to share that with us now? And my whole thing has been in the past. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what you've done.
Tell me.
Whether it's in the community, whether you fought to have a supermarket, whether you fought to have liquor stores out of your community, what have you done? Other maybe ran for office previously. 4 years later, we hear from you again. So what have you done in those 4 years? What have you done in those 2 years? So you just left, and it's time to run again, here I go. That does not impress me. I told Sean, I got an email from Bob Wallace's campaign manager, Mike Johnson. I sent back an email saying to him, hey, announcing press conferences or mayors from Hyattsville who's going to endorse him, it's not what I'm looking for. I want to know what this man is going to do. I want to know who this man is, whether it's through, and I told him this, take a page from David Strong's U.S. Congress campaign. Start sending out a mailer, start sending out cards, start having radio or whatever announcement. My name is so and so and so and so. I've done this and blah blah. They're not doing that because maybe they haven't done anything. That's why I'm never impressed with people who go away. They didn't win. They come back 4 years later. Here I am again. Vote for me this time. But what have you done, mister? What have you done, miss? What's going on with you? Just tell me that. And I would consider listening to you, even supporting you if you've done something substantial for your community, your neighborhood, or this city. And you're not hearing that from any of them thus far. There are others who are going to come out of the woodwork soon that I think you're going to hear it. And I think people's ears are going to pick up. But here's the thing. When Fox 45 does their little crazy survey, Bob Wallace hasn't done a doggone thing, but the man has 10% of the vote. He's done nothing. He got 10% of the vote. Can you believe if he does something?
Well, it's going to get interesting.
And gets his name out there, what he could do, but he's not going to be able to do it if he's based on what I've seen thus far. But there are people coming out of the woodwork. And I think it's going to shock the city. And I think if this person does it right, we're going to have a new mayor that we can respect, that we can count on, that will listen to the community. And that's what I'm praying for, that this would happen.
Well, I have an idea who you're talking about.
I was not impressed with that, what you just stated as far as the article was concerned.
Linda, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that Yolanda and others have great familiarity with what troubles our city. And I've had a number of conversations with her about her vision, and she has an idea. I mean, starting from, making the right appointments to key positions to establishing an integrated plan that deals with and attacks, the school system, that places more of a conscientious effort on criminalization and crime and deterrence to crime and, cleaning up communities. I've heard her talk about a variety of ideas that let me know that she does have a clue and a concept as to what troubles the city and what could be done. Insofar as packaging her idea and persuasively putting it before the public, perhaps she needs to work a little bit more on that, as does Bob Wallace, and some of the other candidates who are out in the arena. Mayor Sheila Dixon, I'm not quite certain what records they can potentially tout in terms of performance that would persuade me that based on what I've seen thus far, there is a need to ensure that they get back in and lead the city.
So,
I mean,
no,
there's more to come. There is more to come, and I am anxiously awaiting the point at which all of the candidates have identified themselves, and we can have a full, open, and healthy debate and exchange with them that talks not only about their vision, because it's easy to say what you're going to do. Let's talk about your performance and your record to see what you've done and the difference that it made that will lead me to want to put you in this position to lead the city. So I'm anxiously awaiting for the date to end when all of the names will be disclosed and we can have those conversations and then go to the poll and make the right choice.
Well, this is what I think of the article. I read it. In all fairness, you all haven't read the full article yet, but I did. And the first thing that stood out to me was the fact that you have a candidate who's running for mayor saying that they'll drop out for whatever reason. I've been a campaign advisor. I've been involved in big ones. Okay. Absolutely horrific mistake. You don't ever say you're going to drop out. And a little over 5 months from now, Yolanda Pulley, huge mistake, period. Bob, what his plan is and vision, the way Tashi did the story, McQueen, it could have been more in depth. I'll say that. It could have went more in depth. Questions could have been asked of Yolanda Pulley. Okay, so why did you get in a race? Or that could have been covered more. Wendell Freeman was buried. He was kind of buried in it. And I saw what was done with the double spacing. I think his answer was, pretty much, I've got a plan, wait till you see my plan. Bob's, whatever, I got a plan, wait till you see what I've got. And like you said, you've got people out here who've done things and they have a record. And then you can look at how they ended up. Sheila Dixon. Sheila's done things. And then how does she end up? Oops, embezzler. Oops, 12 indictments. Oops, FBI raid. Oops, on and on and on and on again. But she's got a list of accomplishments. And then you have people on the other end of the spectrum who don't have really much of anything. And they started off, some of the best minds ever, they started off nothing. I mean, they hadn't a record, didn't have anything, nothing. But they proved in time that, wow, they did some historical things, and I'm talking about people in history. Okay, so you gotta look at each candidate. This is my whole thing, bottom line. You have to look at each candidate, and you have to vet each candidate instead of this two-candidate system that they're pushing. There's two people, Brandon and Sheila from the swamp, and that is what I believe is the worst thing that's going. That this is being pushed. There's a concerted effort throughout the media in Baltimore City to only focus on two people so that people are just focused on these two clowns, as far as I'm concerned, Barbie with the Barbie and the pink, and the other one's a backstabber. And that's my thing. Everybody has their, you know, their point, what they want to, and I understand that. But mine is, at the end of the day, that the citizens of Baltimore City should get equal access on radio and TV of the candidates in seeing and viewing them and hearing from them. That's my bottom line. And they're not getting it. And it's not fair.
Sean, I agree with you, but here's the deal. Mm-hmm. The people who are running, and I have to give Yolanda credit for this, the people who are running have to let it be known, especially to 45, that you're doing something illegal. When there is a season of candidates who have announced their candidacy, you must, by law, give them equal timing. And my understanding is Yolanda has pressed this issue. And of all the people who are running, I'll give this young lady credit. Yolanda is doing things in her community. She knows people. She's helping people. And you just have, and she didn't go away when she ran before. I'll give her that. I think she's rough around the edges and whatever, but she does have a compassion for the people. Mm-hmm. But it's up to Yolanda to sell herself and market herself in such a way that people will take her seriously. Because when I did talk to her, and she knows, I said, and I hope she's listening, they're not afraid of you, Yolanda, because you don't have the name, you don't have the money, you don't have the position. Make them afraid of you and do the things that you can do. You never went away. You stayed and continued to help fight. I mean, she got in contact with Kwaisi, his staff, and whatever, trying to help folks over there, Pennsylvania North, and things going on there. And when you get an opportunity to be interviewed, and I know that they edit things and whatever, but that's your opportunity to lay your groundwork, your platform. And those are even, and again, you know, you can't control what they print, but that's what you have to do. And but the rest of them, I don't know what this other guy you were talking about, Sean, has done. I don't know if Bob went back to Prince George County, because I'm still skeptical of where he lives. And I'm tired of people saying, oh, I live in Baltimore, and they got a home somewhere else. And I'm not going to digress. They're having problems now with the newly appointed police commissioner.
Oh,
You just got an apartment here. You still got the house over there in Anne Arundel County or wherever. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're tired of the foolishness. We're tired of the falsehood. You don't want to live in Baltimore City, but yet you want Baltimore City to elect you to a position? Come on now. And so there are things in which people have to be aware. And again, it's not mudslinging, it's just a fact. Where you live, man. Y'all remember Clarence Blount when his opponents were running against him, and he had an apartment in Baltimore City, but he was living in a gated community over there in Owings Mills, Pikesville area.
The same thing happened to Belinda Conaway. That's what Nick Mosby, when Nick Mosby was running against Belinda Conaway, it was a big deal about her not living, or the Conaways not living in that, other than Frank. So, yeah, that was a big deal. The Sun ran a few stories on that.
Yeah. Mm. And this came out as a result of an opponent who was strong. His name was Nick Mosby. He dropped a dime on her. He did some research. He let the public know. And that's not slugging, that is fact. Mm-hmm. Where you live, lady, and I like Belinda, where you live. You don't live here. Oh, but my husband and my mother, oh, your husband doesn't live with you? He lives in the county?
Oops. Ooh. Oopsie. Ooh-wee.
So we're looking for honesty. We're looking for people who love Baltimore City and the people of Baltimore City. That's what we're looking for.
I agree. You should people who love the city, and my thing is the integrity. Are you going to do, well, sure, you can put plans out and so on. Are you going to do you have the character? Are you going to do what you say you're going to do? Can you do what you say you're going to do? Do you have the brain power? Do you have the willpower? That's a lot of work. Being a mayor of a city, a major metropolitan city, it's a lot of work. You need a lot of energy. Are you going to do it? Are you going to get done what you said you're going to get done? But this is what I want to do. Last thing, and I just only want to spend 5 minutes on this, and then we're going to end The Outsiders. It's been quite a show. I'm speaking with Linda Batts and Mary Hughes, Superstar Doc Cheatham, my co-host. But we talked about this before, and Doc, myself, and Bishop Barry Chapman. What's going on at that circuit courthouse? Speaking of Conaways, that's a really great segue. Speaking of Conaways, the circuit court for Baltimore City, I'm going to play this clip, about a minute and a half, but we're going to talk about not deep dive, but about 5 minutes, and I just want to get your opinions on this, you all. Here we go. Let me hit this.
Story we're following tonight, some new updates, and one that we brought you as breaking news this afternoon, as Baltimore City's hazmat team was called down to the Cummings Courthouse downtown, and that did shut down part of the courthouse and the streets all around it for hours. Tonight.
It's breaking right now at the Cummings Courthouse in downtown Baltimore. Hazmat teams are investigating after someone found suspicious white powder in an envelope.
Yeah, we've been following this all afternoon. Captain Roy Taylor is over that scene tonight. Roy, what's the latest?
Well, we can tell you North Calvert Street and Fayette Street still remain shut down as the Baltimore City Fire Department concludes their operation here for hazardous material that we have today.
Walked over here and have been waiting here ever since, trying to file some stuff in the circuit court.
Work brought Jacob Pisetsky to Baltimore Circuit Court on Monday afternoon. Problem is, he arrived to see all this. The entrance taped off, no one allowed in.
A lot of people, a lot of emergency kind of crews, but still slow progress. We just want to get in, kind of do our job and get out, but we're unable to do so.
Well, some employees were to stage a walkout around 2 o'clock this afternoon. They did, but then they went back in saying they were threatened. And a union spokesperson says that's intimidation by the court. Employees of the Mitchell Courthouse say that there are bugs biting them, leaving them with rashes and bites. The areas in question are the clerk's office and various juror holding areas. The administration's office of the courts confirms the reports. Today, a union rep says he's been aware of the problem for 2 years, and this is no way to run a workplace.
The court ain't above the law either. No, not for real. They got some issues about health and safety of employees in buildings. And they responsible for their employees. They responsible for them, they hire them. Yeah. All we're saying is that do right by your employees. The courts is not above the law.
No, the courts are not above the law. The netting that's around that building, there's netting. Martin O'Malley, during his day, Bishop Barry Chapman basically called him out on that. And there was bird poop, all kinds of crap crud getting in to the HVAC and the air system at the circuit court for Baltimore City. The people were getting sick. The employees were getting sick in the building. So they put this net up. I took pictures all around the building of the net. It's down. I mean, the netting's down. So that means the bird poop and all the stuff is happening again. That report was several years ago about what happened with Bishop Barry Chapman and the threats that were going on. And I've been in touch with Lee Saunders' office. Lee Saunders is he's the top guy with Ask Me International. And I sent him an email, and I believe I carbon copied you all on it as well, because of the safety and health issues that are going on with the workers, the civil rights being violated. And I want to find out, Bishop wants to find out what they're going to do about it, because the union, people are paying dues, and Ask Me, the union, they're not protecting the rights. And Doc, I would like for you to speak of this quickly, but they're not protecting the rights of the employees or their public safety. And I ask for, as well, from Bradley Tanner and from government communications, for the information, the protocol, the safety and health protocol for that building, and I have not received it as of yet. Doc, what do you think of this?
Well, I'm a a 40-year member of a union, and I was first and foremost say I paid dues every year for the 40 years I worked for the federal government, but I was in a union. If I'm paying somebody to represent me, we're talking about union officials, then they should be the ones that should be taking this issue up. Why haven't they filed a suit with the health department?
Exactly.
You know, we got folks, every day I'm hearing folks, oh, I'm going to file a class action lawsuit. 90% of you don't have a damn clue what a class action lawsuit is all about. How much money it takes, how much time it takes.
Yeah.
I'm saying, take the ball, drop it right where you are. If you got a health problem in City Hall or those courthouses, the first thing to do is go to the health department and get them to actually do a study that shows you and documents what the place is like. I'm saying that union is doing those employees a great disservice, because the questions we are asking, they should have been answering and getting answers to, or file a lawsuit because they haven't answered the questions.
Linda, what do you think of this situation?
Well, I think that we've got, regulators. We got regulators out there, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Call on your federal regulators to conduct an inquiry, file a complaint with your federal regulator, initiate a complaint with your councilmanic representative and your elected officials who have been entrusted to do the advocacy work in matters and issues like these. Just strategically speaking, many of Baltimore's buildings are sick buildings. They're old, aged buildings with infrastructure, just as is the case with many of our school buildings, which is why we have 21st and 22nd century school buildings. Mm-hmm. Now, they are no longer physically healthy spaces for people to work in and learn in. And it's the same thing with those buildings and that network of infrastructure and buildings downtown. I'm surprised by now that there hasn't been litigation regarding the health impacts associated with working, the chronic debilitating health impact of working in those buildings over years. But I would call on the federal regulators to come in and do an assessment and shut the buildings down.
There's asbestos.
Or give them time to come into compliance.
I'm hearing there's asbestos as well in those courthouse buildings, circuit courthouse buildings, and there were other issues, health issues that were taking place as well. And that's Eric Costello. That's Eric Costello's district. Hey, Eric Costello, what are you going to do about what's going on in your district, Ace? I mean, you're a councilman. What are you there for? Were you just there twiddling your thumbs? You got major safety issues in buildings in your district, Ace. And I haven't heard Eric Costello get involved in this, say anything about this at all. He's supposed to care about the people? Really? I don't see it, Eric. Mary, quickly, what do you think?
Well, I ditto everything Linda and Doc are saying, but it comes back to this. The city is not being managed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. In fact, there was another poll taken that Baltimore City is one of the most mismanaged cities. Not that
it was number one. It was number one. Yeah, it was number one. The worst managed city.
That the mayor can do everything, but he's got to be able to manage. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that the mayor is managing his departments. I don't think that he's putting the right people in place. I think he's putting in folks who want a job and not necessarily a calling to do right by the people. We need to have folks, and everything Doc said and Linda said are true. But if you don't have proper people in there thinking about the people of the city, rather than their jobs and being in their cliques and socializing, everybody in bed together.
Go along and get along.
If you don't have people who are in those positions that have a compassion and a pride for the city in which they live and want to leave a legacy when they leave that job, and for people to say, oh man, we lost a good one. They've gone. They looked out for it. We're lacking in that area. But then again, it comes back on us, the taxpayers. We complain, but what we're going to do? And if you don't have the people that I just described, then it's shame on you that when you see something that is not wrong, that you don't stand up, act on it, and pursue to make it right. And that's something that we have to take on, folks. And I think without a doubt, Doc is right. People don't realize what it takes for class action suit or whatever. But you can pick up the phone. You can write a letter. You can make some demands. You can embarrass your city council person for not doing certain things. These buildings are old. But why would we have a Department of Transportation that is more concerned, or a Department of Planning more concerned about frivolous stuff when we have these important matters to take care of? I'm going to bring this point up real quick. Y'all have seen and probably read the list of the traffic lights signs that's going to go up for speeding. Do you realize that all of them are in the predominantly black community?
Of course.
They are predominantly in a black community.
Wow.
So where is the outrage there? Where is the city council people in those districts saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense?
The cesspool.
Here we go, we're attacking the black people again.
That's what they do.
$75 per every time something happens. And one lady on WBL who was setting in for TJ, she did a study. She said, well, she didn't do a study. She did some research. And whatever state it was, that the traffic speed lights have been more of a problem in this particular city, that they took them out because it was causing more accidents than it did before.
Wow.
And the whole thing, and I'm going to get that study from her. This young lady was pretty good. The point is, when you make decisions, you got to think, guys, do you check on other locations or jurisdictions or other states to see what they're doing? Do you even take some time to research things? Or you just, let's face it, you just want the revenue. So let's get this revenue and let's move on.
Yeah,
and let's don't even get it from these stupid black folks.
That's it. Because they're the suckers.
We're putting it in their neighborhoods.
We can get them.
White folks may yell, but they ain't gonna say nothing. And they got that wrong. We are going to fight this.
Well, we're definitely
we do not use a title that we need to use when we talk about Baltimore City. Yes, the dirtiest, but here's the one that goes back even further than that: the most corrupt. Yeah. How do we get the label the heroin capital of the United States? How do we get that? How do we have to have a lawsuit against the mayor and the commissioner of police for illegal arresting over thousands of people in Baltimore City? How did we come up with a gun trace task force? How do we get a consent decree? Consent decree come as a result of somebody violating the Constitution of the United States. Baltimore City was found guilty of three constitutional violations. I'm saying, yeah, dirtiest, but how about saying the real thing? We're the most corrupt city that might be holding in the United States.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with the corrupt. And when I say dirtiest, number one dirtiest city in America, I'm using dirtiest as a double entendre. I mean corruption too. I mean dirtiest like you're dirty players, and the dirt, refuse, trash as well. So when I'm saying it, I'm literally saying two things at the same time. And this we will continue, because I mean this we're at the end of the podcast, but before we go, I'd like to first of all, I'd like to make sure to let everyone know, call for the resignation of James Torrence. I'm going to reiterate that. James Torrence, Pigpen, listen up. You need to resign.
Community presidents to say that.
Yes, community presidents need to say it.
To join in. I'm a community president. My community's already taking the thing. James Torrence got to go. This is Matthew Hinton talking. Now, where are the rest of the communities?
Well, I'm going to get in touch with them.
For your community. Let's ask the community presidents to say something.
Well, we're going to get in touch with them. I'm going to get in touch with them. I guess Mary and Linda, I don't know what you're going to do, but the Outsiders on Sims, and I'm going to get in touch with them and have them call for the resignation of James Torrence. That's what I'm going to do. But thank you all for being on The Outsiders. Doc, you're great co-host. Mary, Hughes and Linda Batts. Wonderful to have you on. Terrific. And thanks again for being the guest on The Outsiders.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Okay, y'all. Thanks. And take care. God bless everyone. Thanks for being on.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. What